YouTube. What's cracking? What's going on, y'all? It's your boy TIDY checking in, dropping another video. I'm trying to make this quick as possible. Been trying to focus on making my videos a little bit quicker, so let's see how it goes. Let's see if I can keep this under 8 minutes. I wanted to check in today because I got a message from a kid from Ohio. Kid from Ohio asked me this question twice, and I promised him that I'll make a video about it. So I definitely want to drop a video about it and answer his question also. So shout out kid from Ohio. Also, before I read kid from Ohio's question, I want to send a shout out to Rashana also, who is working. She's a subscriber and she's working on her first deal, and she's about to get it. I can feel it. So shout out Rashana. But here we go. Kid from Ohio, he had a question. It says, can you do a video on how to close a deal with an owner that's out of state, but the house is in your market? Like going about getting the key and sending out the contracts over email and getting the e-signature, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Good question, kid from Ohio. And I'll go ahead and tell you, before I kind of answer your question, those are really my favorite kind of leads, a situation like that. Especially if the house is vacant, you got a out-of-state owner, or out-of-town owner who's looking at selling the house in your market. So those are really my favorite type of situations, because when they're out of town, they're out of state, they're not near the property. A lot of times that really further their motivation, because they're not there near the property, especially if it's vacant, and they're out of town. That property is no longer an investment tool at that point. It's more of a liability, because you just got a vacant house sitting there. It's not bringing in any income. They're away from the property, so as far as going back and watching it or doing repairs on it, they really can't do that, because they're away from the property, which is why they call you. So situations like that, the owner's away, they probably ain't seen the house in years. A lot of times they're just ready to unload it. So those are my favorite types. But let's see. To answer that question, let's say you talk to somebody. I'm just going to use me, for example. I'm here in Georgia. Let's say I got a call for a house here in Georgia in my market. Let's say the owner or the seller, let's say they live in Arizona. They reached out to me. And also in those kind of situations, normally they're going to reach out to you because, one, you probably send them some mail, or maybe two, maybe they stumble across your website online looking to sell that house. More times than not, if they're out of town, they're out of state. And not saying this is going to always be the case, because it won't always be the case, but more times than not, they're probably not going to see your bandit sign and call you. Again, you probably sent them some mail. They probably checked out your website online. But anyway, using me, for example, let's say the house is here in my market in Georgia. Let's say the seller's in Arizona. They call me. We talk. I made a offer or whatever. Let's say they accept the offer. As far as getting the key, just pretty much flat out tell them, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm going to take my contract and my partner over there, and we're going to put a lockbox on the house, and that way, we can go in and out of it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, as far as getting the key from them, they can mail it to you. A lot of times, if they're out of state or out of town, a lot of times they'll have somebody, a lot of times, not always, a lot of times they'll have somebody that's probably close by, like a relative or maybe a property management company that watches over the house and has a key. So you can say, hey, Mr. Seller, do you have somebody here local that can let me go in the house and do a walkthrough, or give me my key, give me a spare key, and that way I can put my lockbox out there, and that way I can take my guys inside and outside. But as far as getting that key, something like that, get them to mail it to you, or ask them if there is somebody local that has a key where you can get the key from them. Most times than not, that'll be there. Not always, they may have a key and they may not have anybody that's local, but and they, at that point, they shouldn't have any problems actually mailing that key out there to you, So That shouldn't be an issue. They can mail out the key, and that way you will have access to go inside and outside. Now, you will run across this situation a lot. The seller's out of town or out of state, and they don't have any key. That house dropped off their priority list 8 years ago. They were no longer stunted, so they don't even have a key to the house. Now, in a situation like that, the house could still be open. So if they don't have a key, the first thing you want to do is go to their property, see if you can get inside. A lot of times the front door, the back door, something like that will be open. Hey, even the window. I'm not saying I'm not telling you start go jumping through windows, but hey, if you need to get that inside the house, letting them know, hey, front door is locked, back door is locked, but there is an open window. So, Mr. Seller, I just want you to know that I'm going to go outside, get in that window, and that way I can go look through the house, or we can go through the house, whatever. And I want to let you know that up front. And also what I'm also going to do is I'm going to knock on your next door neighbor's door and introduce myself and let them know what's going on. That way they don't call the police on me. So that's a good thing to do in that situation. Like if you might got to go through a window, which you might have to do sometimes, get permission from the person that owns the house. They've given you permission. Go ahead and knock on the neighbor's door, on both sides. Hey, my name is Toddy Jones. I'm looking at buying this house. I just want y'all to know I'm not breaking in, but I've already talked to Mr. Seller. He gave me permission to go in the window, look through the house. So, I just want to let y'all know that, just so y'all know I'm not breaking in or doing anything that I'm not supposed to do. So have that discussion with the neighbors, talk to them, tell them what you're doing. And that way you don't look like a crook, going and jumping in the window, whatever, if you have to go that route. But that's normally going to be the worst case scenario. Probably 7 times out of 10, they can mail you the key, or more than likely, they're going to have somebody probably local that can get you the key or meet you out to the house, something of that nature. So, kid from Ohio, that's a few ways you can go about as far as getting a key. And also sending over contracts, that's simple. Pretty much everybody got an email now. So simply email them the contract. Or you can fax it to them, whichever is going to be more convenient for you and more convenient for them. Email it to them or fax it to them. As far as email, you got a lot of free apps out there. You got a lot of paid apps too, where you can download and take pictures of contracts, email them over. A lot of y'all know way more about way more about technology than I do. So, if you got a scanner, you can scan it. Again, you can fax it. The app that I use, it's a free app. It's called, what is it called? Cam Scanner. CAM, Cam Scanner. That's the app I use. So if you want to, you can start using that app to start emailing contracts to out-of-state owners or out-of-city owners. But that's going to be your easiest way to do it. I even email contracts to people that live in the same market sometimes, Sometimes we'll find somewhere and we'll meet. Sometimes we'll meet at Burger King. Sometimes we'll meet at the house that I'm looking at buying from them. Or, I'll just email it to them. That's probably going to be your best bet, though. Just find you a good email and app where you can just get your cell phone, take a picture of your contract, and just simply email it to them. That's what I do on a lot of my contracts. It's really just a matter of taking a picture. Make sure you take a good picture though, because you'll notice you'll run a lot of times where you got shadows or blurs in the picture. So just get in a well lighted area, take a good picture of your contract or your contracts, email it to them, have them sign, and also make sure to tell them, hey, Mr. Seller, when you sign it, make sure that you send me a copy so I have a copy for my records as well. So just please email me a copy back. And that's how you get the contract signed. As far as closing, if I'm in Georgia here and they're in Arizona, if they're selling me a house for $5,000, it may not be conducive for them to actually get on a plane or drive down here to Georgia and actually close in person. So a lot of times in that kind of situation, they can close what's called remotely, or some people may say close virtually. And that's essentially them just closing a property and they're not actually in the closing attorney's office. So an attorney will handle all that part for you. But they'll send them over some documents. I'm pretty sure they have to probably have it notarized, but it's not a big deal. I've done a few deals like that. Probably more recent when I had a seller. She lived in California and she closed virtually. My closing attorneys, they just email her some documents. She signed them, sent it back. I'm pretty sure that they had to get notarized though because they were virtually. So she took it, got it notarized, and she sent it right back, and we closed. She wasn't there. I was there at the closing, me and the end buyer, but she wasn't there. No problem. You can do that a lot. You can do that a whole lot. But that's typically how you're gonna close in those kind of situations when they live in another place, they're out of state, out of town, or what have you. They may even be out of country. They may be, be incarcerated. They may be locked up, So, but that's how you can handle that. And just, set up an email system, email it to them, and they'll email it back to you. And, you can just bang it out like that. Or, again, you can fax it to them if you want to fax it to them as well. But that's pretty much it, kid from Ohio. Those are going to be some good leads in that kind of situation. You got a house in your market, and they don't live in the market, but they want to sell a house. That's really going to further their motivation to give it to you at a lower price because a lot of times they just want to get off of it, unload it, and be done with it. But that's pretty much it. Like I say, they don't have to come to closing. Now, you will have some situations where a seller will be like, you tell a seller, well, okay, Mr. Seller, don't worry about it. You don't have to come to closing. I know you're out of state. We'll just set it up where you can just close virtually, and that way you don't have to worry about trying to get down here. And that's well, no, Toddy, I'll come on down there. Just call me and give me the closing time and date. About a week ahead of time, and that way I can make arrangements to be there. Some of them will be just adamant to be there, and if so, that's fine. That's no problem. If they're adamant to be there, that's totally fine. So some situations like that, they're going to tell you, they're going to still want to come to closing anyway. And I think a lot of times is, they just want to make sure that the house is sold, it's out of their name, that headache of a house is now done. And more importantly, they want to get their check in their hand. So, a lot of them a good bit of them will tell you, well, no, I'll still come to closing because they just want that check in their hand. You know what I'm saying? They just want, hey, I sold you a house. I need to make sure I got paid for it. So instead of them closing virtually, where it may take 1 to 3 business days for the lawyer or the title company to electronically deposit their money in their bank account, a lot of them they'll come wherever you at and they'll close. They'll get their check, and and the house is no longer in their name and is no longer a burden to them. But that's pretty much it, kid from Ohio. You get those situations like that, man. You pursue those leads hard all day long because, like I said, if they're out of town, they're away from the property. That really drives their motivation to give it to you at a better price. So definitely work on those leads. Anytime you have those like that, especially the house is vacant, you know what I'm saying? Especially if the numbers are looking favorable, definitely pursue those, man, when they're out of state. Definitely go after those because a lot of times, like I say, the house is no longer an investment tool. It's now a liability. It's not like they're getting, if it's vacant, it's not like they're, accumulating rent from it every month. What they're doing is they're just sitting there paying taxes on a house that's vacant, a house that needs repairs, and, probably 7 times, 8 times out of 10, they don't have any plans for it anymore. If they did, it would have never got to that point where they've called you to try to sell it to you and get it off their hands. But that's pretty much it, kid from Ohio. You know what I'm saying? Feel free to comment on this video, kid from Ohio, if you got any other questions about this situation, this scenario, or anybody else in general. You know what I'm saying? Any questions y'all got, make sure to comment in the video. I'll come in here and I'll answer the questions for y'all. If y'all want me to make a video on a specific topic or a situation, just comment it on this video. And sooner or later, I'll eventually get around to making the video. It may take me a day, may take me a week, may take me 2 or 3, 4 weeks, but I'll eventually get around to doing it. Like I always say, man, y'all please follow me on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Come check your boy on IG. You know what I'm saying? My Instagram is Toddy_Jones. T as in Tom, TIDY_Jones. Check me out on Instagram. If you're watching the video, you ain't subscribed, make sure to hit the subscribe button. You know what I'm saying? Come on, join the fun. Also, another thing, everybody who is subscribed, or if you're about to subscribe, make sure that you hit that bell that's about to subscribe button. Hit that little bell also. That way you get notified when I drop new videos, when I go live. You know what I'm saying? I did my first live stream about 2 weeks ago. I really enjoyed it, and I'm going to do a lot more of them. So make sure that you hit that notification bell so when I do go live, you're ready. You know what I'm saying? You got your popcorn, you got your drink. You know, if you got your little smoke thing going on, you're ready. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to check out. Peace out, y'all. Y'all take care.